guys, welcome back to Strong Successful Male. So for today, I'm going to go over an article titled Polyamory is on the Rise and Society Should Be More Accommodating, Research Argues. And a big shout out to Carrie for sending me this article. And guys, this article is covering a book that recently came out by some college professor. He was, if I had this right, a philosophy professor in some California university, of course, making the case that polyamory is on the rise, and like the title says, society should be more accommodating and understanding because of the benefits and blah, 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 which in my opinion is complete BS. I've been here on YouTube for 3 years, and between all 3 channels now, I've done a couple thousand videos, you put them all together, and I've done countless stories. Stories that I found online that were sent to me or ones that people wrote in where their girlfriends or wives wanted to have a polyamorous relationship, open marriage, that type of thing, and they always end in disaster. And not only that, but when parents live when families have parents that live this alternative lifestyle, mom and dad are hooking up with other people, it has a very extreme negative effect on the children. I've covered those stories where the kids eventually want nothing to do with their parents because the parents are more focused on their S-word adventures, if you will, than being a good parent. They were swingers, they were this, they were that. And so here you go right here with this. And I've been seeing more and more articles popping up in the mainstream media, like major mainstream BS media, talking about these things and promoting it pretty much. And I think one of the biggest areas I've been having a downfall in our society is the destruction of the nuclear family. And it's been shown the kids are much better off when you have 2 parents in the household, loving, supportive, all that, not what we have nowadays. You know, you got more kids raised in single-parent households, and there are certain situations that, okay, they're single-parent households for a reason. And those single parents, most of the time, try their darndest, you know. However, the kids still benefit from 2 parents there that love each other and all that. And when you bring in other people and have alternative lifestyles, it really screws things up. Not just for the relationship between the 2 partners, but also the kids. But you got people talking about this here. And I've also predicted the time will come that I guarantee you these idiots on the far left are going to try to orchestrate things, if you will, that God forbid speaking out against this lifestyle will be labeled along the lines of a hate crime. I'm just waiting for it. I hope I'm wrong, but I'm waiting for it. And then these videos will get flagged and that'll be that. But anyhow, I know it was a long intro, but I needed to say what I had to say. So I'll read you this article and what this guy has to say, and I will certainly share my 2 cents. 3 cents. It says here, a new book argues that more needs to be done to support consensual, non-monogamous relationships. Polyamory has been on the rise for some time, despite the social and political stigmas surrounding it. But research suggests that such romantic relationships can offer emotional and physical benefits to all involved. Really, I beg to differ because I've seen nothing but problems in all the stories I've gone over, and I've gone over quite a bit. Nobody contacted me for my input here. Consensual polyamory, having more than one sexual or emotional relationship at once, has become increasingly common in many countries in recent years. According to statistics published in 2021, 4 to 5% of American population practices polyamory, while in 2019, a YouGov survey found that 7% of UK adults have been in consensual, non-monogamous relationships at some point in their lives. Yeah, and in that 4 to 5% in America and 7% in the UK, how many of those ended in complete failure? How many of those started about because the wives brought that subject up and the husbands, being fearful that the wife would divorce them, went along with it anyway? And it was a complete freaking train wreck, okay? We don't hear anything about that. And that is overwhelmingly the common trend in these stories. Occasionally, you'll hear about the guy bringing it up, and guess what happens? It's a train wreck too. Because no guy or gal that has, if a woman, her husband brings it up, believe me, the marriage is over. She should divorce him like that because, believe me, if he loved her, he wouldn't want some other guy touching her, and he wouldn't want some other chick. Sure, married men can be attracted to other women, doesn't mean they're going to act on it. And if a woman brings up the open relationship, open marriage thing, she doesn't love you. End of story, man should end the marriage because guess what? If she's saying you can go hook up with other women, do you really think she loves you? No. She just wants some dick. And if she loved you and truly was supportive and loyal, she won't want any other guys. She can be attracted to them, fair enough, we're human, but not acting on it. Anyway, this increase in practice has also been accompanied by a rise in positive representations of polyamorous relationships in popular culture. Yeah, on these bullshit television shows and TV's TV. Today, there are a number of television shows and video games that have included the lifestyle in their plots, while mainstream dating sites and apps, including OkCupid, Tinder, and Hinge, now allow users to specify this type of relationship in their profiles. I'm still stuck on the video game part. How are they portraying this in video games? Okay. Yet despite the increase in the number of people identifying as polyamorous, there remains a significant stigma surrounding it, along with social and political pressure that favors monogamy. Gee, maybe because this whole thing doesn't exactly work out very well? Could that be? Monogamy is often portrayed as the ideal romantic situation, and its values are reinforced in the stories we read as children and the films and stories we encounter as adults. According to this idea, happiness is contingent on us finding our one true soulmate who will stay with us throughout our lives. Accompanying this culture expectation is a range of state and government incentives, financial, social, and legal, that favor married couples. Any deviance from the monogamous norm, or I can't pronounce the word he wrote there, is viewed with suspicion, outright hostility. So, I will say this. We've seen the movies and selling the bullshit idea that there's the destiny. There's one person you are destined to be with. And when you meet that person, fireworks are going to go off and the stars will be aligned. There'll be fucking rainbows and leprechauns dancing or whatever. And that'll be it. Well, that's nonsense, okay? For your relationship guys, there could be lots of gals that you could click with. Not just one girl will do it all. But the idea is, if you want to get married, and if she's qualifies for that, then you make it work together and all that. Do your best, both parties. And but this whole thing of have to have multiple people in it to make it work or anything like that, I mean, come on. However, a new book by Justin Clarity, professor of philosophy at Santa Clara University, seeks to challenge this view. According to Clarity, whatever the hell his name is, Clarity, an increasing large number of legal and political scholars are proposing reforms to existing family laws to recognize the variety of relationship type humans can have. Scholars, huh? I'm already sensing ideals. When people instead of using what works, and they base things on how they think things should be, or how they feel things should be, versus what actually works or doesn't work, bad idea. That's why I have a problem with a lot of idealists, because they go what they feel should be a certain way. How many times you guys seen situations where certain politicians, if you will, want to go by how they feel things should be, and it turns into a big fucking mess. It says here, polyamorous face the risk of being fired, denied housing or citizenship, or having their children taken away from them because of their polyamorous identities and lifestyles, Clarity said in a statement. Well, with regards to the kids, if the kids are constantly the parents are having strangers come to the house in the middle of the night or leaving in the middle of the night and things going on and the kids are exposed to this, yeah, you can see why that's an issue for the state to get involved. Okay? And I've done stories when these kids grow up and they get the hell out of town because they don't have anything to do with their parents because of what they saw growing up fucked them up. However, in many cases, poly relationships are more durable than monogamous ones because their flexibility allows them to meet shifting needs over time in a way that monogamous relationships don't. It says here, debunking common assumptions. Clarity's work presents and then challenges the main arguments commonly mustered to support monogamy. In particular, he addressed the moral debate that supposes that humans evolved to be monogamous as babies require greater care than other young animals due to their younger gestation age. It says monogamy is therefore seen as the natural order of things. Professor Clarity explained. However, many homosexual and heterosexual monogamous couples either do not want or cannot have children. Yes, this doesn't exclude them from being able to marry and enjoy the rights and privileges that come with marriage. So you can try to adopt. Others see monogamy as a moral command given by God. However, does this mean that atheists and agnostics are disqualified from romantic love, even if they find themselves in a happy, healthy, and satisfying monogamous romantic relationships? Then there is the persistent idea that the polyamory generates painful feelings of jealousy, but Clardy argues that this is not unique to non-monogamous relationships. In many instances, vulnerability, possessiveness, and the feeling of entitlement towards another person's affection is more inherent in jealousy than we are comfortable to admit. Polyamory, in contrast, can give individuals the chance to see how a partner behaves in other relationships. Guess what? You're not a villain if you don't want your wife or girlfriend or partner, whatever you want to call it, hooking up with other dudes. That's not being controlling or possessive. There's nothing wrong with you not wanting that. Because if you agree to be together, be married, then it's just the two of you. Not just the two of us right now until somebody gets bored and reads some article from Cosmo or something like this and says, well, you know what? I want to open up the marriage. No. When governed by mutual consent and understanding, polyamorous relationships can allow people to share more fully in the happiness of others, said Clardy. That is just your theory. That's just the way you feel things should be. Well, just because you feel it or think that's how things ought to be doesn't necessarily mean that's how it is in reality. And I don't know about this guy. I didn't do my homework on him. I don't know if he's married. I don't know if he was married. But I have to question, has he had experience in this? Or are these other scholars and experts that share the 2 cents in how they think things should be? Do they have experience in this? Equally, opponents of polyamory argue that these relationships harm children and the family unit more generally, claiming they inevitably result in divorce and the breakdown of families. Yes, that's exactly what happens. Countless times. How many stories have I done? The wife brings it up. Husband goes along with it because he's afraid to lose her. He should have divorced her, but he didn't. He was scared. And she goes out and hooks up with all these guys. And guess what? It's a lot harder for him because he's a guy. But eventually these guys, a lot of times, will meet a gal. And she doesn't want that lifestyle. She wants just he and her. And guess what? That wife who wanted the open relationship realized she's losing her husband, wants to close the marriage just like that. But too late. And they divorce. And if things could have been handled a little differently, that may not have happened. But, and then also right there, he said here about the criticism of it, the divorce and breakdown of families, and that's what happens, overwhelmingly. So the opponents that polyamory have it right. Goes on and says, and yet polyamorous families not only exist, Clardy said, but also thrive in ways that benefit children. No, they do not benefit children. Now listen to his reasoning. He says, it may not take an entire village to raise a child, but it stands to reason that all things being equal, having more than one father or mother as a caregiver may be even more conducive to meeting children's needs, as children may be loved and nurtured in unconventional families, said Clardy. Hey, you know what? Maybe they do love the kids, but that's going to still mess up the kids' heads. And we all know it. Indeed, it may turn out that, on average, the existence of more than 2 caregivers is a superior parenting arrangement. Have grandma come babysit. Have aunt and uncle come babysit. Whatever. Doesn't mean you have to have another person in the freaking relationship confusing the kids and having mom and dad's attention on them for their fun time together. Ultimately, the book argues it is morally indefensible for monogamy to be necessarily imposed on society. Clardy pushes for more states to support diverse forms of relationships as well as monogamous ones. Yeah, well, good luck with that in the red states. Polyamorous relationships need support and protection that the state is uniquely able to provide and is best placed to carry out, argued Clardy. Just because a way of relating might deviate from well-established social norms like monogamy, this does not mean that they don't have considerable value morally, socially, or politically. Again, I want to know the experience that this dude and the other so-called experts and scholars have in this particular thing. I'd like to know. Now, that is the end of that article, and I'm going to read a few comments here. There were comments that were supporting it, but there are also ones that were calling BS on this. One guy says here, he says, zero science, all opinion on this one. What evidence is there to support the idea polyamorous relationships are somehow more stable, aside from an opinion from some lady with 3 letters after her name? Ah, there you go. 3 years, guys. I've been on YouTube, 3 channels now, and I've covered countless stories of this. And most of you guys have heard them, and they all have been a disaster. But these scholars, who probably had no experience in this, but because they got letters next to their freaking name, suddenly are experts. And they think and feel this is how things should be, or this is how it can work without maybe any real experience of that. Another guy, he also says, what evidence is there that a communal childbearing situation is common amongst polyamorous relationships? And the guy says here, another so-called scholar trying to break down the family. What a joke. This will only bring down our already morally bankrupt country. Yeah, things are already on major decline here. I'm sure many have noticed in the news, today's youth are pretty screwed up. And for a lot of them, it's not all their fault, especially the younger ones. How many are raised in single-parent households where they don't have the parents there to keep an eye on them, be supportive, guide them? A lot of today's youth are so frustrated because they feel like they have no role model, no guidance. There's nowhere. They're wandering aimlessly in this world with a whole lot of direction because their parents are too busy drawing attention to themselves on social media and acting like children themselves. Kids need stability, and having this type of family, if you will, is going to be more unstable. Yeah, you may have more people there, but still, they're going to be paying more attention to each other than the kids. And yeah, like you said, morally bankrupt country. And the last one, this is longer, and I guarantee the guy who wrote what I'm about to read probably watches channels like mine. He says here, hypergamy excuses. By alienating masculinity, we are reverting to a caveman-like feudal, hierarchical society that will result in violence and barbarism. Men reject this idea because there is no excuse to protect a woman who is not loyal. Further, multiple partners will distract you from your missions and goals. Women reject this idea because there's no loyalty when you are easily replaced after expending the commitment of your youth. Do not relinquish the power of societal approved commitment to you and your children. The nuclear family includes relatives who provide the extra help and security that this already failed system addresses or advertises. It is a better, more specific system to provide you security. In other words, in the article, he was saying more people in a polyamorous relationship, it can help the kids. And he's saying, hey, get grandma involved, or get your aunt and uncle involved, your actual family, which I agree with. This proposed system was rejected by humanity for one additional reason. Harems and hypergamy lead to a massive population of men who give up on fatherhood and become more prone to extremism, war, and destruction. These societies are unable to advance culturally, economically, or toward any justice or equality as the entrenched power protects itself from the masses. And there is reason some societies abandoned slavery and others did not. This proposed system reduces self-respect and ultimate respect for the value of others. Well, he's kind of going off there at that point, but the point is, this doesn't fucking work. So there you go. Yet another article about a guy, a professor, of course, from California, writing a book on the subject. And you're going to see more of this. I'm telling you now, guys, you're going to see more of this, more books, more articles, more so-called experts going on shows saying how this is the greatest thing in society, next evolution, and that it's going to work and help families and kids. No, it's bullshit. What they need to do is actually watch channels like mine and read the countless stories that are posted online about people who have tried this and it'll end in disaster and they'll change their mind. But again, when people go on, instead of how things work and experience, but just how they think things should be and feel things should be, it usually leads to disaster. How many laws have been made by these politicians that think that things ought to be a certain way, and it becomes law, and it's a fucking disaster. But at the end of the day, a lot of people don't want to deal with common sense. Feelings seem nowadays to trump facts. Unfortunate, but true. Anyway, guys, that'd be a good one to cover here to show you the state of things. Don't fall into this crap. Your relationship guide, your girl brings up open relationship, open marriage, dump her. If you're a gal who watches me and your husband or boyfriend brings up, dump him. It's a bad idea for everybody, and especially when there are children involved. That they should not have things messed up because things are already tough enough for the kids nowadays. All right, guys, that is it for today. Be sure to comment down below. Let me know what you think about this. And be sure to like the video, share with your friends, and subscribe. I'll catch you next time.